Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 317 to 318 for the 6th and 7th of January 2023. And just to highlight, this is also the date where the Russian forces decided to do a ceasefire for as long as 36 hours. So they went from noon on the 6th to midnight of the 7th, the entire of 7th. And the aim is actually to allow civilians to attend their Christmas service. So it's actually not for the soldiers, actually it's more for the civilians, not allow citizens. So immediately on the 7th, or rather on the 6th, I think it's on the 7th, the Ukrainian side complained, despite the announced so-called ceasefire regime, the Russian occupiers in the 6 p.m. report say continue to shell the position of their units from tanks, mortar, and artillery, and launch airstrikes and 7 attacks from MLRS, multiple launch rocket system. And in today's morning report, they say that there is 9 missiles, 3 airstrikes, and 40 attacks from MLRS. So, yeah. So no, I never believe in ceasefires in any war. Usually are nonsensical, but anyway, that happened. So let's start off with Southern Front. At the Southern Front, there is some rumors of fighting over at this area here. I remember seeing something about it. I don't think it's something important, so yeah, it's nothing there. So over at Zaporizhia, at the Zaporizhia region, there is fighting. Oh no, this is outdated information, sorry. There's nothing. There's nothing at Zaporizhia. And oh yeah, happy Orthodox Christmas to those Orthodox Christians, and or belated because it's over already, right? So anyway, going to the Donetsk front. So this is Donetsk region. There is shelling reported at Preshivka, and this is reported on the 6th, which might indicate this is actually from the 5th. So just to highlight, because there is a ceasefire going. The shelling also reported at Konstantinivka and Novomihailivka. This is actually reported in the previous SITREP, if you noticed. And during the ceasefire, the Ukrainians attacked Novomayosk. This is according to the Russian Defense Ministry in yesterday's summary. Their daily report, they said that there is a attack by one of the territorial defense unit, the 108. So that didn't work out, I think. And over at Marinka, the Ukrainians reported there is fighting at Marinka on the 6th, and then that was probably before the ceasefire. And the Russian Defense Ministry, interestingly, yesterday said that there is fighting near Georgievka. So Georgievka is actually here. So it's interesting that the Russians actually use the word Georgievka rather than say Marinka. So something to kind of take note that maybe there is some changes in the front line that we are not seeing that prompted the Russians to actually say that the fighting is in the area of Georgievka. So that might be a case where Marinka is almost more or less captured by the Russian forces, because our understanding is that the Ukrainians are already pushed to this area here on the outskirts, and if this is true, reinforcement will be extremely difficult for the Ukrainians because they would have to travel down this road, or at least go through behind all these buildings and the forest area to reinforce. And moving around this area moving along this road will really get intercepted or attacked by Russian forces that is actually monitoring this road to prevent reinforcement. So the defenders here will start to dwindle, the ammunition will start to run out. So it's not going to be a easy thing for Ukrainians to continue to hold these positions should they only hold such a small piece of territory. The fighting reported at Boyeda, and interestingly, the Ukrainians, in today's report about yesterday, continue to insist that there is fighting across multiple locations, and they are the usual locations. They say Stemakivka, Makievka, Bilohorivka in the Luhansk, and Rozdolivka, Soledar, Bakhmut, Zalesny, Performansky, Bodian, and Boyeda, which is Bodeda, is here in the Donetsk region. So, despite the so-called ceasefire, the Ukrainians continue to say that the Russians are attacking. But in their initial statement, in the first line in their report, they only really mention continue to shell positions or airstrikes. They did not really write, an offensive. They still continue to attack. They only say continue to shell. But then in the later part of the report, they say that they repulse attack. They repulse attack by the Russians. So that put me in. It makes me think, what do you mean by repulse attack? Is it, the artillery shelling, and then they actually, do counter artillery? Is that what it means by repulse attacks? So, that put into some question into the how the report should be read on the Ukrainian Defense Ministry side. Over at Krasnohorivka, there is also fighting. The Russian Defense Ministry also said that there is an attack from Krasnohorivka. From the Ukrainian side during the so-called ceasefire, the Russian Christmas. And then over at the Pisky region, the War Gonzo reported there was this outdated, man. Okay, let me check. Okay, then there is fighting reported at Performansky before the ceasefire by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 6th. On the 7th, they continue to name Performansky and as well as Vodian in the Pisky region. So for me, I don't think it's very far away to believe that Russian forces could continue to attack during the ceasefire, because why stay? You should continue to fight because it's a war. And over at the New York region, so now this is Donetsk city, and the north of Donetsk city in the New York region, this is New York, not the American New York. There's fighting reported at Zalesny, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So interesting, there's fighting reported here. Maybe these are recon forces that are trying to figure out, during the ceasefire, where is the Ukrainian positions, and then maybe that might be seen as a attack. And we are now into the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city. Bakhmut city is over here. At the south of Bakhmut, there is fighting near Oteranivka before the ceasefire. Over at Klishchievka, there was fighting reported as well on the 6th. And interestingly, Surya Maps reported that there is fighting north of Klishchievka. This comes in the morning of Singapore time, which is actually in past midnight in Ukraine. So I think this might be referring to the 7th, which means that the Russian forces, or maybe the Wagner forces, but he mentioned Russian and DPR forces though, had maybe not follow the ceasefire, or maybe they immediately after midnight they started to attack in the northern part of Klishchievka. No idea what is the exact truth. Over in the Bakhmut city on the south, Opine has been captured, or Otayne has been captured by the Russian forces, because according to Surya Maps, they say that the Ukrainian forces is now fighting the Russian forces in the first building of the Bakhmut city from the south, and which is actually here, which is why the front line now have changed. And if the fighting is now into Bakhmut at the very southern point of Bakhmut city, then Opine has been captured. So which is why this is how I come to this conclusion that Opine has been captured. Fighting continues to be reported at Bakhmut on the 6th and on the 7th, but according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And over at the Soledar region, in the northern part of Bakhmut, front line have been changed according to Surya Maps' latest mapping. The Russian forces is now on the edge, or probably within the first buildings of Pyohorodne. This is on the northeast of Bakhmut city. And over at Krasnohorivka, the Russian forces is now less than a kilometer to Krasnohora. So I'm not sure if these are buildings. If it's not, then if the town only starts from here, then it's more than a kilometer, maybe 1.5 kilometers away. Let me check. Yeah, around around 1.2, 1.3 kilometers away. So there is fighting near Krasnohora. The Russians are pushing really close. I have done a report about the Soledar region. Do check it out. It's on this DPA war channel. And so this one I just indicate that the front line has been changed according to SITREP maps mapping. Over at Soledar region, I just want to add, we donated to SITREP maps to thank them for their work, because so far SITREP maps has been giving our mapping very unique reports and updates that no other sources of mine is giving me. So which is why I think they are I should donate to them at least once. And they are not based in Russia, so I'm not running any risk of breaking any sanctions or getting involved in the conflict because it is against the law in Singapore to support any warring factions in any place. So over at Soledar, fighting was reported at Soledar, and the last report was that the Russian forces have reached the middle, and by the latest information on the 7th, the SITREP maps have given us information that the Russian forces have already fight in the northern part of Soledar itself, into the urban region where all these buildings are, and there is already footages coming out from here, this region here, that is already geolocated by multiple individuals, all indicating in the same place. The fighting is now in the northern part of Soledar. There is three different directions that the Russian forces is pushing. One is from the southern part here. The other one is coming from the east, and then there's another one coming from the north. So there is fighting around this region here as well, on the eastern part of the northern bra. I call Soledar a bra because it looks like a bra. See this one round one, and then around one. This is the connecting part. Yeah, so this is northern bra, and the Russian forces is already attacking the eastern part of the northern bra. There's the southern part and the northern part. So situation is very critical for the Ukrainians, and I'm not sure if the fighting actually stopped during the ceasefire around this region, because just before the ceasefire is going to effect, the Russians are actually making a lot of progress. So stopping while you're making progress is kind of stupid. So I'm not sure if they actually follows, or did they actually continue the fight. So there is rumors of a Ukrainian counteroffensive. People are asking me whether I heard or saw anything about it. I did not. There is no counteroffensive reported from my sources at the Soledar region. So read if you find that this information eventually is totally cannot be corroborated, I suggest you don't follow those sources, because there are, I just have to highlight, there are accounts, be on Twitter, I'm not sure about YouTube, maybe Telegram. There are people who make things up. They make up fantasy things because it's exciting. If you say that, oh, there's a major counteroffensive by the Ukrainians at the Soledar region, push out the Russians out of the northern brow of the Soledar, that creates views, that creates is clickbaitish, for it be money or for it be fame, I don't know, but there are people who do that. So I want you guys to clean up your sources, clean up the information diet. If not, then you will always find things very contradicting and confusing. One good example I want to complain about is Opaine. A lot of people commenting, telling me, oh, Opaine has been captured so many times by the Russian forces. I have never ever reported Opaine has been captured. Even if I do forget, probably once at most. But my understanding is that I never say Opaine was captured ever. It was always under no contest. Ivangrad is the one that is always like captured, but then not captured, not captured kind of thing. And mostly Opaine, I have never said that. This is the first time I reported Opaine has been captured, but countless people keep talking about this, that Opaine has been captured like so many times, and especially pro-Ukrainians like to use this, like to jib at any claims that Russia is making progress at Opaine. So I just urge you guys, don't tell me all this kind of thing. I remember most of the time. So anyway, there is this town called Sil. Over here, it's actually, as you see, you can see this train station here. It's called Sil. This town is actually Sil, and fighting is now very close to Sil, and the Russian forces currently is more or less than a kilometers from Sil itself. Probably by the time you are watching this, the Russian forces might have already penetrated into the village itself. So this is dangerous because capturing this town would mean that this road will be cut. The links between Siversk and Bakhmut will be broken, and then there will be no way to reinforce either side from Siversk to Bakhmut or from Bakhmut to Siversk, and then with the capture of this town means that the Russian forces can push south and cut off reinforcement and resupply, and entirely encircling the Soledar forces. Which is why you should watch this town here of Sil. Should still be captured by the Russian forces, then the next thing we should expect is a Ukrainian withdrawal or retreat from Soledar. So if not, getting encircled is a bad thing. So anyway, this is the Soledar region. Over at the Siversk front, so this is the Siversk region. We are now here at the Siversk region. There is fighting reported at Rozdolivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry in today's morning report, talking about yesterday. So yeah, this is one of those places where it's important, and fighting is reported here is kind of weird. That no Russian sources is talking about, but it's okay. Ukrainians. That's why I covered the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report. But this is happening during the ceasefire, so let's see whether we can corroborate this or see any more progress in tomorrow's report. Moving, there's no fighting reported at Sperne, Bilohorivka, Berestove in the region. Nothing here. Fighting, however, is reported at Bilohorivka on the 6th and on the 7th. This, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. During the ceasefire, the Ukrainian forces launched a counteroffensive near Serebranka as well as at Grigorivka or Kryhorivka. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Is it? Let me think. I don't know. This is not during the ceasefire because it's reported on the 6th. So this is actually happening most likely on the 5th. So no, this is not. Sorry. Cancel the last. Cancel last. So but this was reported in the previous SITREP. I just remembered. Over the Kreminna region, the Ukrainian forces during the ceasefire in two different assault groups tried to attack within the forestry region, the Serebransk forestry region that's fighting over here. There is also a counter-offensive east of Toske, and they actually made progress. They managed to push the Russian forces backwards because the Russian forces was just outside of Toske. They got pushed all the way back. Now they are very near to Dibrova. The front line have moved to close to Dibrova. And there is fighting reported at Dibrova on the 6th as well. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 7th. So this probably before the ceasefire, I guess. Shelling is reported at Yapolivka, according to Russian Defense Ministry. I think I reported this in the previous SITREP. And there is fighting reported at Makievka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on both days, 6th and on the 7th. And that's all from the Kreminna front. Moving on to the Svetove front, there is fighting reported at Stemakivka during the ceasefire, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And there is actually shelling reports at Novoselivske, Berestove. This actually, I've reported this yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday, the day before, in the last SITREP. And similarly for Ivanivka in the Kupiansk region, and as well as at Sinkievka. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, in yesterday's noon report, they reported that the Ukrainians launched an attack near Sinkievka during the ceasefire, and so maybe the Ukrainian forces trying to push them backwards. And that's all from the Kupiansk front, and that's it. Oh yeah, there's something else I want to talk about. So this is actually pretty important. I actually did a video on this on the main channel, on the main Defense Politics Asia channel. DPR Joker, which Joker is actually a hacker group that is on the Russian side, and they are independent. They're not exactly working for the state, but he came out on the rant yesterday, saying that the Russian forces, soldiers and officers uses WhatsApp Messenger on the front line, and he's really pissed. He used some very colorful words, which I use every day. They say that these troops use it on the front line, knowing that it is being read by the enemies online. What I think is that the soldiers don't really realize WhatsApp is actually can be read by the Ukrainians. So he said that he's tired of reading their correspondence in Ukrainian reports, and he said that the Russian soldiers describe exactly where their military equipments are, and what is their losses and what is their plans. So he's puzzled why these Russian soldiers don't use Telegram. And I want to talk a little bit about this. Is that this is not a thing during the early part of this Ukraine war. The early part of the Ukraine war, the soldiers are all professional. They are all contract soldiers, and they have a tremendous discipline. They do not have their handphones on them. The problem, it seems like the Russian forces now at the front are mostly mobilized troops, and these mobilized troops are have been civilians for some time. Even though with their training, they might not, they do not ever be in a position of fighting in such a hot war. No one has since the Iraq war or since the Vietnam war. Not even the Americans, like when they come to be mercenaries in the Foreign Legion, they also got surprised by the intensity of the conflict. So these guys are still in La La Land. They still do not know that you shouldn't be using your handphone at the front. And I believe that the same problem plagued the strike at Makiivka. So we have a missile strike at Makiivka, right? That was a result of a whole freaking battalion or company of troops all using their handphones in the same place. And maybe what Joker said has something to do with this as well. That they are not just they could maybe not be tracked by their their SIM card or their phone communication signals. Maybe they are being tracked by simply someone on the WhatsApp tell someone else about their location. Or maybe maybe one of the soldier asked another soldier, "Hey, where are you now?" "Oh, I'm staying at this place. Hey, give me your address." Then he sent him the address on WhatsApp, and it was being provided by the Americans, by Meta or Facebook, which owns WhatsApp, to the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians got this data and strike the Makiivka group. And the same thing is happening over along the fronts. The exact location of all these troops that is going against operational discipline is unknown. But managing mobilized troops or reserves probably present this kind of problem, because reserves are usually veterans, or they have been very experienced and they think they know what they're doing. I mean, I'm a reserve too, or rather not really reserve, but something like a semi-reserve. We tend to think that we know better, and we don't really follow the rules very well, unlike a new soldier. So I believe that might be a case, and Joker, for him to reveal this is actually not a good thing for Joker himself, because by revealing that he is reading reports from the Ukrainian side about the WhatsApp usage or the WhatsApp messages will allow the Ukrainians to close certain gaps within their data security or IT security, because this will reveal exactly where the hacking is happening, where the backdoor might be. So this is actually a situation that is happening over on the front lines. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 317 and 318 for the 6th and 7th of January. And do check out the open mic that will be probably happening later today. Do check the date of this SITREP and time. It will be later today from this report. And for those that didn't notice this scrolling text on the right, these are all the people that made all these reports possible. These are the Patreons and the coffee members. They are the DPA army. So there's generals, officers, and troopers. So and the officers and the generals actually have access to this map. So if you want to to join them, join the DPA army and support DPA's work, do check out, and I'll see you in the next update.